There are places so extreme they feel unreal. Not because they're beautiful, because they're unstable. A bridge holds on perfect geometry. A valley hangs over empty space. A cave creates its own weather. And beneath a glacier, heat still rises. This film travels through those places, not to dream, to understand what they demand: distance, constraints, timing, and sometimes a discipline of survival. On screen, everything looks simple. In reality, access is often conditional. Closed roads, restricted areas, quotas, permits, safety protocols. And when something goes wrong, beauty doesn't protect anyone. There's navigation, communication, and sometimes rescue. Later, we'll return to one simple question. How did humans organize a construction that survived more than 4,500 years without modern tools and with no margin for error? Nothing is free in nature. Every spectacular view has a price: financial, human, or logistical. We begin in China, where emptiness becomes a permanent neighbor. Wang Xin Valley carries a name that suggests a place outside the world. And that's exactly what the terrain creates: a landscape where verticality imposes silence and access has never been easy. In mountain valleys, altitude used to be protection: fewer routes, fewer crossings, fewer surprises. Today, the logic is inverted. People come for the feeling of stepping into a set, but a suspended site is a place where mistakes become expensive. What the image doesn't show is the daily constraint: walkways to inspect, anchors to check, drainage to maintain after rain. The most peaceful places are often the ones with the strictest rules. One-way flow, occasionally restricted zones, temporary closures when conditions shift. In environments like this, safety isn't one dramatic decision. It's a chain of small ones: slow down, redirect, close access. Most of the time, it's invisible. And that's exactly why the place stays calm. Peace here depends on constant organization. When the cliff isn't enough, humans answer with stone against gravity. The Landwasser Viaduct feels almost unreal: a stone curve above a valley, then a train that vanishes straight into the mountain. Built in 1902, it rises to roughly 65 meters, with a length of about 136 meters. Wikipedia. This place grips you because it leaves no room for doubt. Either the structure holds or everything stops, and it has held for more than a century because it relies on one simple idea: geometry redistributes force. The arches don't decorate, they work. The viaduct belongs to the Russian railway network, which received heritage recognition, Albula, Benina Line, and still runs daily. This is not a frozen postcard. It's a living piece of infrastructure. Wikipedia. The image is romantic, the reality is strict. Behind the postcard are inspections, maintenance, safety rules, because here, nature has no obligation to be forgiving. And now we leave the surface toward a world breathing under rock. Phong Nha Ke Bang is UNESCO listed. But Son Doong is known for one thing above all: scale. In 1990, a local man, Ho Kan, discovered the entrance deep in the jungle. He heard a river and felt air pushing out of the mountain. He didn't go in, he left. That detail matters. Sometimes survival is refusing curiosity. In 2009, he guided the British-Vietnam cave expedition led by Howard Limbert to explore and measure the cave. Here, access is not free. It depends on conditions: season, rain, water level, routes, quotas, safety protocols. The cave is huge, but fragile underground rivers shift. Floors slick over, and outside weather decides what happens inside. The more spectacular a place is, the more it must remain difficult. Not to build a myth, so a fragile world doesn't become a constant incident. After rock carved by water, a monument cut to calm a river. The Leshan giant Buddha is carved into a red sandstone cliff at a river confluence. It stands about 71 meters tall. Construction ran from 713 to 803. During the Tang dynasty. According to historical sources, a monk named Hai Tong began the project, believing the Buddha's presence would calm dangerous waters for navigation. The work faced interruptions and funding problems, then resumed with local support until completion. Even without romanticizing it, the human story is clear: a monument born from a concrete risk. People come seeking the serenity of a face in a place chosen because the water was too violent. And like all major sites, it operates under rules: hours, circulation paths, flow control. This isn't tourism, it's safety for the heritage and for people. And then we leave motionless stone, for a landscape where Earth still moves. The Danakil, a far desert, is among the hottest and lowest places on Earth. Daytime temperatures can exceed 50 degrees Celsius, and parts of the region sit below sea level. Wikipedia. Here, the landscape is chemical: salt, hot springs, volcanic ground, and sometimes gases that force simple rules: distance, exposure time, route, discipline. Danakil is also home to Afar communities, known in particular for salt extraction. This isn't folklore, it's adaptation to an environment with few alternatives. The constraint here is operational. Water, very early departures, short pauses, returning before the heat becomes crushing. A place that repels life becomes a scientific and tourist draw precisely because it shows the planet actively transforming. In a few minutes, Earth turns vertical. Pillars, glass, and a road that doesn't forgive. Tianmen is a case study. Nature creates the spectacle, and humans manufacture access. The cable car is sited around 7,455 meters, and the access road has 99 turns across roughly 11 kilometers, leading to the natural arch known as Heaven's Gate, about 131.5 meters high. In places like this, the main danger isn't the void. It's flow management. When a location goes viral, safety becomes a system. Queues, schedules, weather closures, restricted areas, safety protocols. Most visitors never see that layer, but it's what prevents chaos. The landscape looks indestructible, but the human experience is fragile. Wind, rain, a slick surface, and the most rational decision is to close. The real luxury here isn't the height, it's the right day. Meteora isn't a romantic idea, it's a strategy. The monasteries developed mainly in the 14th century, when monks sought hard to reach places to protect themselves from attacks. The original access was intentionally dangerous: removable ladders, ropes, nets, baskets. People and materials were hauled up the cliffs. In other words, peace was built by hand, above empty space. What looks like panoramic serenity today was born from a need for security. Even now, the site runs on rules: hours, circulation zones, restrictions, guidelines. Not to control visitors, to maintain balance between a living heritage and modern crowds. In the Danakil, there's an even raw proof that Earth is alive: a lava lake. Ale is one of the rare volcanoes known for persistent lava lakes. The volcano is noted for a lava lake present since at least 1906, and such lakes are rare worldwide. Wikipedia. It sits in the Afar region, at a junction of tectonic plates where the crust slowly tears apart. In 2009, a BBC team mapped the area using 3D techniques to keep a safe distance from extreme temperatures. Wikipedia. That detail says everything. Here, even science moves with protocols. You come to watch something ancient Earth creating new crust. Yet the terrain imposes a modern constraint: organization, discipline, and turning back when conditions deteriorate. After extreme heat, a contrast: cold mountains, protected nature, and the rules of modern access. Banff begins with a very concrete micro-history. In 1883, Canadian Pacific Railway workers Frank McCabe and brothers Tom and William McArdle discovered hot springs at Cave and Basin. That discovery triggered the creation of the park in 1885, Canada's first national park. Early on, there was also an attempt to claim the place, fence it off, treat it as private profit. And it's exactly that kind of tension that pushed the state to protect it. The result: a wild park that, in reality, only works through rules. The freer nature appears, the more access must be organized: roads, parking, seasonal restrictions, wildlife protocols, closures. It's not a contradiction. It's the condition for preventing popularity from becoming a destructive force. And sometimes, the most beautiful, natural phenomenon starts with a human decision: a dam. Abraham Lake is an artificial lake created by hydroelectric development on the North Saskatchewan River, early 1970s. In winter, it becomes famous for methane bubbles frozen in exceptionally clear ice, organic matter below, gas rising, progressive freezing that captures layers of bubbles. The lake draws photographers because it feels like an illusion, like a sky under your feet. But the illusion has a concrete price. The ice isn't uniform. One area may be safe, another not. Here, restricted access isn't marketing language. It can be a safety decision, depending on weather, wind, and temperature. A beauty that looks purely natural is the product of infrastructure and instant fragility. A warm spell can erase the phenomenon, or worse, make it deceptive. After the silence of ice, a place where water falls so far it becomes mist. Angel Falls is often described as roughly 3,200 feet of drop. Water falls from a tepui and turns to mist before reaching the base. The modern story locks in 1933 with pilot Jimmy Angel. The waterfall carries his name, even though local people knew it long before. Angel was searching for a river of gold in what was then called a lost world. The obsession didn't give him gold, but it gave him a name in history, the Irish Times. Nature doesn't need to be named, but global attention often follows a story, and access brings you back to reality. Isolation, weather, logistics, shifting conditions. Here, getting there is never guaranteed. It's a possibility if the sky agrees. And now, toward another kind of extreme, ice laid over fire. Vatnajökull, Iceland. Under Vatnajökull, volcanoes don't sleep. In 1996, the subglacial eruption at Jalp triggered a Jökullhaup glacial outburst flood from November 4 to 7, damaging parts of the ring road and bridges. The road was closed in time, preventing casualties. It's not spectacular, that's exactly the point. The decisive part is invisible. Monitor, anticipate, close. Monitoring, alerts, closures. In landscapes like this, safety is a chain of decisions, not a sign. The place that looks most still hides one of the most aggressive mechanisms. The ice is silent, but it moves, it fractures, it answers heat. Nothing is free in nature. Every spectacular view has a price, financial, human, or logistical. And when the ice ends, survival takes a brutal shape. Move or fade. Serengeti, Tanzania. The migration. The Serengeti is one of the great theaters of life. Predators, herbivores, and a migration that returns like a law. This isn't only beautiful, it's a mechanism season, necessity, fatigue, and decision at the water's edge. Guides and rangers often describe the same reality. The scene changes in minutes. A group waits, hesitates, then commits. The moment is brief, but the biological cost is enormous. Here, there is no second chance. The event looks monumental, yet the decision is individual. Second by second, move, wait. Take the risk. And that's what holds attention. Not spectacle, but the absence of staging. Nature doesn't tell anything, it enforces. Next, a water border between two countries, and a flow that never apologizes. Niagara Falls, USA, Canada measured power. Niagara Falls sits between the United States and Canada. Average annual flow is often given around 2,400 cubic meters per second, is approximately equal to 85,000 cubic feet per second. This place fascinates because it's constant, yet never identical. Mist, rainbows, ice in winter. Access here is a perfect example of beauty under rules. Platforms, guardrails, mapped viewpoints, you can get close. But inside, a strict frame. That's not comfort. It's a permanent safety protocol against a force that doesn't need drama to be dangerous. And even the flow isn't purely natural. Documented variations in tourist versus non-tourist flow remind you the site is managed, not just admired. Niagara Parks. Everything feels free, yet access is organized because water doesn't negotiate. And now, a perfect silhouette, monitored like a volcano. Mount Fuji, Japan, the icon under monitoring. Mount Fuji has been UNESCO listed since 2013, and the summer climb has become a ritual. Leave at night, aim for sunrise, Japan Guide. But access is no longer spontaneous. In Japan, rules have tightened. In 2025, shared guidelines mention a mandatory hiking fee of 4,000 yen and entry restrictions by time if you haven't booked a mountain hut. Fujisan-climb.jp. That tightening says one simple thing: when a mountain becomes a mass objective, safety becomes a system. Quotas, reservations, off-season closures, monitoring. Not to ruin the experience, so the predictable accident doesn't happen. The icon of calm is also a volcano, and a volcano is respected even when it's quiet. After the mountain, another symbol, a tree that survives by storing life. Avenue of the Baobabs, Madagascar, the survivors. The Avenue of the Baobabs, near Morondava, features mostly grande baobabs, Adansonia grande. Along roughly 260 meters, what remains of a denser forest that was cleared. The site received temporary protected status in 2007. This photogenic landscape exists because the rest disappeared. The baobabs weren't isolated. They remained after the forest was converted to agricultural land, and local people preserved them for their utility and cultural value. The image looks eternal, yet it tells a fragility, an ecosystem slowly eaten away. Here, the difficulty isn't altitude, it's deep time and what disappears quietly. And now, a volcano where night reveals something rare. Blue fire. Kawah Ijen, Indonesia, blue fire and sulfur. Kawah Ijen is known for a nighttime phenomenon, blue fire, linked to burning sulfur gases, and for its acidic crater lake. But the place also carries a human reality. Sulfur miners work at the crater floor and carry heavy loads back up. National Geographic has documented these men and their work, showing carriers emerging from the crater with sulfur loads. National Geographic. Across reports, loads are often described in the range of 70-90 kilograms, depending on the source. joelsantos.net. What tourism comes to admire coexists with a physical constraint, hard, daily, and quiet. Even for visitors, access is conditional. Schedules, weather, safety protocols, caution with gases. Here, getting the shot should never come before breathing and getting out. After sulfur, another immensity, the forest that changes the world's air. Amazon rainforest, impossible scale. The Amazon is a system, not a backdrop. WWF notes it contains roughly 1 known species out of 10 and holds a major share of global biodiversity, with a massive role in freshwater and the hydrological cycle. World Wildlife Fund. Here, the constraint isn't spectacular danger, it's distance and dependence on the river. Access is often by boat. Shaped by seasons and water levels, with protected zones, rules, and the need for local guidance. It's not luxury, it's safety. The most alive place is also one of the hardest to read. Everything moves, everything hides, and the scale makes intuition useless. In the Amazon, the rule is simple. The system is bigger than us. And that's exactly why you never leave with the same idea of nature. Then, in Europe, another kind of myth, a castle that looks like fiction made real. Neuschwanstein, Germany, the Memory Castle. Neuschwanstein begins in 1869 under Ludwig II of Bavaria. It opened to the public soon after his death in 1886 and today welcomes more than 1 million visitors per year. During World War II, the castle served as a storage site for artworks looted by the Nazis, proof that a place outside time can become a very concrete object of history. An intimate project, almost a retreat, becomes a global visitor machine, so access runs under rules. Schedules, guided tours, quotas, flow control, Wikipedia. Here, the fragility isn't the cliff, it's the crowd. And in Greece, a white island born from ancient violence. Santorini, Greece, paradise after the explosion. Santorini's shape comes from a caldera, the scar of a major eruption. The Minoan eruption of Thera is placed around 1600 BCE, dating debated. With major regional impact, and the city of Akrotiri was buried in ash, helping preserve the site. Akrotiri isn't just an ancient site, it's a city, stopped instantly, then sealed by ash, almost as if catastrophe also preserved evidence. One of the softest postcards was born from a catastrophic event. Today, access follows the logic of iconic places. Seasons, saturation, cliff edge safety, local rules. Beauty draws fast, too fast, and that's where fragility appears. Now, toward the cold, a park where ice advances, then breaks. Santorini's shape comes from a caldera, the scar of a major eruption. The Minoan eruption of Thera is placed around 1600 BCE, dating debated, with major regional impact, and the city of Akrotiri was buried in ash, helping preserve the site. Akrotiri isn't just an ancient site, it's a city, stopped instantly, then sealed by ash, almost as if catastrophe also preserved evidence. One of the softest postcards was born from a catastrophic event. Today, access follows the logic of iconic places. Seasons, saturation, cliff edge safety, local rules. Beauty draws fast, too fast, and that's where fragility appears. Los Glaciers, Perito, Moreno, Argentina, ice that moves. Los Glaciares was created in 1937 and UNESCO listed in 1981. The park covers about 726,927 hectares and recorded roughly 688,837 visits in 2023 public data. UNESCO World Heritage Center. The site is famous for glacial lakes and for Perito Moreno, known for dramatic ruptures and carving. UNESCO describes the place as an environment where multiple glaciers spill ice into lakes. With blocks breaking off in real thunder, no staging. UNESCO World Heritage Center. What looks most solid is in constant motion. Access reinforces caution. Platforms, safety distances, restrictions, depending on conditions. Because ice doesn't plan, it fails. In Iceland, a waterfall carries a divine name and a story of human decision. Godafoss, Iceland, the waterfall and the turning point. Godafoss, the waterfall of the gods, impresses by sheer force, but its memory is also cultural. Widely reported tradition, around the year 1000, during Iceland's conversion to Christianity, the law speaker Thorgeir Ljósvetningagoði is said to have thrown pagan idols into the falls to symbolize the decision, Iceland. For 91 days. Travel blog. The exact certainty of the story is debated across sources, but the core is clear. The place became a symbol of a turning point. Paths, viewing areas, safety, winter conditions. You can get close only where the site allows it. And now, back to the United States, a mark left by the sky. Barringer Meteor, Crater, Arizona, USA, the proof. Meteor Crater, Barringer Crater, is a remarkably preserved impact crater in Arizona. One key fact, engineer Daniel Barringer argued as early as 1906 that the crater came from an impact against the dominant view of the time, American Museum of Natural History. Barringer also hoped to find a massive iron body beneath the surface. That search lasted years. It shows a human reflex. Faced with a cosmic phenomenon, we look for an explanation. And sometimes, a reward. The Barringer Crater Company. A violent event produced a stable form. And that stability triggered human obsession. This place doesn't need music to feel intense. The desert, the silence, and one idea, an instant, can carve geography for 50,000 years. And finally, the payoff, a monument built to last longer than those who built it. Pyramids of Giza, Egypt, 4,500 years. The pyramids of Giza are more than 4,500 years old. The Great Pyramid originally rose to about 146 meters, is approximately equal to 480 feet, Wikipedia. But the real question isn't, how do you cut stone? It's how do you organize a site capable of repeating a gesture, a transport, an alignment for years without modern machines? What survived isn't only stone, it's organization, collective discipline, long time, precision. Even if technical details are debated, the reality is undeniable. Thousands of actions had to be coordinated without losing the axis. In a desert that erases, something remains, and what remains isn't mystical, it's a demonstration. Time can be resisted if organization is relentless. Nothing is free in nature. Every spectacular view has a price, financial, human, or logistical. Which place marked you the most, and why?